Okay, apparently you can't redirect that damage with cover. I really tried. Welcome back to the Mentor Roulette grind. This time we're playing just Paladin. And this also took place the week before patch 7.4. And once again, we had quite a mix of duties despite being a tank. Starting with duty 1, Meso Terminal. And the Dragoon knew me. Hello! As usual, the second boss is where the most exciting stuff happens. We start the fight with me giving the healer ad a solid hit before engaging my own ad. My fight or flight burst puts me in the lead among the 4 ads, of course. And while I do my filler, the others catch up. A fun fact is that it turns out the DPS ads have 3.4 million HP, the tank ad has 2.6 million, and the healer one has only 2 million. So a pretty hefty difference. Which is even more interesting when you consider that the ads adjust their toolkit to who they're fighting. They only use the Interruptible and Tank Buster if they're fighting a tank, and only apply Doom if they're fighting a healer. Right at the finish line, the Dragoon overtakes me and beats their ad first. We both decide to help the healer, who is way behind, which also makes a lot more sense when you see how many party barriers they provided. The 3 of us just barely manage to get the healer over the finish line before the machinist clears theirs. The rest of the dungeon goes pretty much as you'd expect, with nothing major standing out. For duty 2, we went to Rathalos Extreme, and Gubal is here. Now, you already know this was a bit more of a doozy when I say, in the first pull, Gubal died during phase 1 due to latency-related dodging issues. Early in phase 2, our healer gets targeted by the multi-stack, immediately followed by an avoidable attack that they get hit by. Rathalos decides to triple down on them and targets them again, and that is where cover is useful. As I promptly go in and cover the healer, they survive and I get slapped instead. A bit later, the Reaper gets hit by a frontal cone attack that punched them straight into a fire patch, which is an automatic death. For good measure, Rathalos also targeted them with a stack, but no need for that. The result was that one of the stacks just fizzled, but the 2 remaining ones went on the healer, who then, again, got rushed by a line attack, and then double tapped. As we start up the second pull, a powerful lesson from this run of Rathalos Extreme is that being really far away from the boss is not actually that helpful, as if Rathalos is targeting you, he generally uses a move that could realistically hit you where you are, and if it is the dash, then he just dashes faster. That doesn't mean there isn't a time for being far away. When you're targeted by the multi-stack, going out to the edge of the arena to pile them up to be out of the way, as much as they can be anyway, that is the time to be far away. The rest of the time being either in melee range or like mid-range, so far enough that a cone attack targeting someone else will not hit you, is recommended. On top of this, trying to position yourself so each party member is at a distinctly different angle relative to Rathalos can make the boss way more predictable too, as every mechanic is preempted by the boss turning to face them, size them up for a moment, and then a thing happens, giving you plenty of time to get out of the way. Now, for the second pull, we actually had 2 deaths in phase 1. We even got Rathalos down to 1% HP, and then at the very last, Gubal got punted into a fire patch, and as it turns out, that damage cannot be cover redirected, so we wiped again. For the third attempt, we make it to phase 2 with 0 deaths. Around midway through phase 2, Gubal gets punted into the fire patch again, really unlucky positioning in this run. But this time, we managed to beat Rathalos before he gets up a third time. For duty 3, we went to Bismarck Extreme with Lichor, Elana, Gubal, and Snowshiro. Community takeover! And this run, of course, went perfectly. We got to the Serpent phase and naturally split up the Serpents, and conveniently got the appropriate debuffs too. We went on to get the yellow knockback weather and even handled the bubbles nicely. And as the Dragon Killers go out, our Dragoon misses Bismarck due to being a bit overexcited. Despite being a player short, we somehow still managed to single cycle Bismarck for a quick finish. For duty 4, we went to Leviathan Extreme with Agent Monica and Elana. After an overview of how the fight goes, we go in. For the first Wave Tooth, I'm expecting players to be slow to assist, so here's a little trick. The Wave Tooth can be stunned as long as it has not started its problematic casts yet, so to maximize our opportunity to kill it in time, I used a combination of Low Blow and Shield Bash to stun lock it, which worked out great. During this first phase of the fight, my co-tank also just suddenly dies from around half HP. However, one tank can take both parts if it has to be this way, so we keep chugging along. We also managed to get all of the gyrospumes in a reasonable time frame, and so took very little damage from the raid wide. Going into the second phase, we're all alive and no one slides off the arena to begin with either. Despite being the tail tank, I pick up the wave spumes. Preferably, it is the head tank that takes them since they're easy as a heal. In all the chaos that follows as Leviathan jumps out for some flybys, all of the DPS except Agent Monica, as well as a healer, die off. And then, when Leviathan does the slide, the other tank and Agent Monica go down as well. I mistime my hallowed ground just barely, but still somehow survive while Ilana tries to bring back the team. Let's just say, it is a good thing I packed potions to help. We recover to a point where both tanks and both healers are up, as well as a summoner. Unfortunately, the summoner dies before they can rest someone else due to a poorly timed raid wide. In the meantime, the same summoner and Agent Monica are brought back, and the tank slides off, meaning we have, like, half the raid alive for the final wave tooth, so here we go stun locking again, which works like a charm. Both healers work hard to try and bring everyone back to life, but Ilana especially is starting to have trouble with the mounting debuff stacks. As Leviathan leaves to do some more flybys, we drop back down to around half the party. And then the other tank goes down once tanking recommences, leaving just me, a heavily disabled Ilana, and Agent Monica alive. And Agent Monica ends the fight with Limit Break. I would say an incredible display from Ilana, especially carrying the group forward. Wow! For Duty 5, we went to Great Gubal Library Hard. This dungeon has a couple bosses with some slightly confusing mechanics, starting with the second boss, which has a mechanic where players are given a sun or moon marker. It isn't necessarily obvious what you need to do with them, but the correct answer is to stand on the platform that matches your marker. On the final boss, there's a bit more. For the most part, if there's only one type of circle, you just step in it for the mechanic the boss is doing. But when there are two, one of them either turns you into an imp, or turns you back to normal, while the other protects you from Tornado, and the boss performs 3 mechanics. Tornado, turning everyone into imps, and a simple raid wide, so you need to respond appropriately. Aside from that, the dungeon is pretty straightforward. For DD6, we went to Lost City of Amdapor. The final boss, Diabolos, is pretty notorious for being really difficult, but thanks to some heavy power creep, he's not that bad. The main troublesome mechanic of the fight are the doors. Right at the start, the doors show markers that match them pairwise. You can mark them yourself to keep track of which ones to open, but you don't have long, so it has to be quick. Usually, you only need 1 pair of doors. Then, when he casts Ruinous Omen, you need the doors opened early enough that everyone can get sucked into the doors in time, or things get bad, but survivable. His other mechanic that tends to catch players is Ultimate Terror, which is a donut AoE, so get close. However, as long as you can survive Ruinous Omen, you can stabilize and finish the fight quite easily like we do here. For Duty 7, we went to Ignore the Flames, and the Black Mage knew me. Hello! Simply AoE spam and then we move on. For Duty 8, we went to Wanderer's Palace. A little tip for the final boss here is that the adds don't hurt that much, and killing them makes the boss hit harder, in bursts, so it is generally advised to leave the adds alone and just kill the king. That said, this run went decently well aside from a bit of confusion in the big room before the second boss. For Duty 9, we went to Garuda Extreme with Snow Zero and Lichor as my co-tank. Fantastic. Since both tanks know exactly what to do, we easily distributed the adds and even cleared them up quite swiftly. We also, as is tradition at this point, decided to just kill off the spiny plume as it probably won't be needed and is more trouble than it is worth. Usually, a tank limit break is enough to tide us over if Garuda does use the raid wide. Except someone used the limit break this time. Not that it was really a problem, as Garuda was so low HP when she jumped away that she died instantly when she came back. And even if that wasn't the case, we tanks could probably have finished the job if it came to that. An extremely easy run of Garuda Extreme. For Duty 10, we're bubbling marbles again. A really random tip for this one, and any other guild has with adds you can otherwise ignore, as long as you're in combat with them, toggling your tank stance off and on again generates some enmity. Enough that if no one else is hitting the enemies, you can eventually pick them up without issue. Simply double weave the stance off, stance on. For Duty 11, we went to Friendly Party Houses with Tina Lee. And probably surprising no one, not that much happened here. Remember to hold the low blow to stop the toad at the end. For Duty 12, we were an instant replacement in the first trial of Endwalker, which is quite spoilery, so hop to this timestamp if you don't want to see that. That said, we of course went to Zodiark. This team was very solid, so things went pretty smoothly. For the Astral Eclipse, one of the Reapers went down and almost died again to the Styx multistack right after. Aside from this, the fight went pretty smoothly with nothing that stood out in particular. For Duty 13, we went to Hostile Meetings. time to spam Total Eclipse. I think the most interesting thing that happened here was the discovery that a gifted YouTube membership can be gifted to yourself if you don't already have one. Ain't that weird? For duty 14, we went to Stone Vigil hard. I start the duty out by pulling like a maniac since I do have hallowed ground and potions to save us just in case. However, this also gives me the opportunity to gauge our healer, who turns out to be a bit panicked as they spam heal me at full HP with invuln. With this information, I pull less aggressively for the rest of the duty, so they maybe have a bit of a chance to breathe and learn what they can get away with in more mundane pulls. Now, for a tip for the turtle boss. If you focus target the boss, you can more easily tell what's going on since you can't target it normally while firing at it. Also, remember to use your cannon to assist the other players as the minimum range of the cannon can prevent you from protecting yourself. And finally, remember that your second ability on the cannon is meant to stun the boss when it is doing its hard stomp. Now, aside from a slightly slower run due to taking it a bit safer, the run was very nice. Although, hopefully our healer gets some more confidence so they don't panic on big pulls. For duty 15, we went to Castrum Abania. The run went very well, so let's talk a bit about the finer details of the final boss. Details that rarely come up in the fight. Each claw can be upgraded twice, with one claw governing the tank buster and the other the raid wives. For the add waves with the death claws, if the claw with a battery reaches the boss, it gains an additional upgrade, which is generally required for the boss to even have a chance of fully upgrading anything before the fight is over. Probably the most threatening upgrade is the first upgrade to the tank buster, as it adds a nasty dot to it. Although, it hardly matters in a light party. It is a shame that it doesn't have a heavier impact on the fight itself, as it is an interesting way to ramp up a fight in a way where the player has a direct impact on how fast the boss is fully armed. For duty 16, we're fighting poison clouds again. As killing the boss is the only requirement to clear the duty, simply double weaving the tank stance is once again a solid strategy to avoid needing to use AoE attacks. For duty 17, we went to the Red Belly party with Tina Lee. And as long as your healer can keep you alive through it, just mowing through all the enemies with Total Eclipse is probably the fastest way to clear this one. And finally for duty 18, we went to Garuda Extreme again, this time with only randoms. As the fight, as mentioned before, largely comes down to the tanks, I briefly discuss with my co-tank what to do and offer for them to take Shirada, so I have to deal with the two bosses north again. For the initial Mistral Song, our bard goes down. Afterwards, we clean up the plumes nicely, and Shirada is also quickly taken care of. Sopana also goes down with a little fuss. In fact, at this point, the fight goes so well that after the rocked up raid wipe, we clean up the second wave of plumes and Garuda before she gets to do anything more. Quite an awesome party, this one. Considering how many more challenging duties we got this time around, I am impressed we managed to get through a whole 18 duties, although this is probably mainly thanks to the guild tests. It is both a bit funny and a bit of a case of suffering from success when we finally land in a challenging extreme, only to beat it first try, although it's also pretty cool when that happens. Oh yeah, and we also passed 5/8 on the achievement this time. Now, that is all for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you would like to support me and my channel more directly, you can become a member like these wonderful people here. You can also alternatively support me through Twitch or Ko-Fi, links in the description. You can also support the channel by letting the YouTube algorithm know by liking the video, leaving a comment, subscribing, sharing, and hitting the bell to get notified when next I post a video. Fun fact, before Shadowbringers, Paladin had a more intricate relationship with blocking. To highlight a few examples, Sheltron used to guarantee blocks, but before Shadowbringers, only guaranteed one block. This block also generated some MP though, and also enabled an attack called Shield Swipe.